Okay, we're going to talk about this Patrick Mahomes thing, because he's going to be on the Chiefs forever. And while I certainly cannot name you a whole bunch of things when it comes to the NFL in terms of all the players and salaries and things, I do know the value of a really good quarterback. And the Chiefs have said to themselves, we're not going to mess around. We are not going to open the floodgates for half a second on us losing this guy, who, as of right now, you could argue is on pace to being the best quarterback of all time, and we're going to have to see what happens, but based on what has occurred so far with Mahomes, yeah, certainly. Now, Schefter said that this is going to be more of a percentage thing with the salary cap, which makes sense, because if it wasn't, then Mahomes would be underpaid once we got to about, hell, even 3 or 4 years into the contract, definitely halfway into the contract. So it makes sense to go that route. Now, I haven't seen things about if the NFL salary cap is going to be affected as much because of everything going on. Don't know. That's a wait and see, I guess. But regardless of what it is, Mahomes will always be paid like how he should be paid, assuming the percentage makes sense. I mean, we assume he has to be the highest paid player in the NFL every season, right? I mean, is he technically the best guy in the league? I guess that's up for debate, and I am not the person to ask there, but in terms of what he does for the Chiefs and everything, on top of he may just be the best player, period, yeah. Now, other things to look at is he going to be good throughout this whole thing? Well, if we look at his injury history, he had a shoulder thing as well as a left wrist thing in his final season at Texas Tech, but there was no sign of physical concerns after his rookie season, and that has been pretty much it. He did miss 2 games this previous year because of the knee, and that can be frightening, but who knows? I mean, I think it's safe to assume that Mahomes' rushing abilities are not going to maintain themselves throughout this entire thing. I mean, 218 yards this previous season, including 135 in just 3 playoff games and 2 TDs. I mean, Mahomes is not a run-first QB. Like, he's confident with sitting in the pocket and reading and not just being like, oh crap, I guess I'm going to run now. But even so, it's a nice insurance policy, and we assume eventually that's not going to maintain itself, and potentially some sort of knee thing that pops up now could be the beginning of that sort of thing. We don't know. But the other thing to look at with Mahomes is projecting the long term, because of course this is a long-term contract. So it's 12 years now, because he still had 2 years left in his original deal. So that means, what, 36 years old? I mean, he turns 25 in about a couple of months, so 37, if we will. Peyton Manning at 37 years old threw 55 TDs. Drew Brees at 37, still really good. Brady at 37, still really good. That seems to be the going rate for QBs. If you can do a good job of protecting them and getting the offensive line and all that. And of course, a lot of strides have been made in terms of not having QBs just throwing and throwing all the time in practice and all that. And of course, they're not getting hit in practice or anything. There's definitely a world in which Mahomes can maintain himself into the deep 30s. I mean, Drew Brees is doing it right now. I mean, Brees is 40 and still pretty damn good. I mean, sure, he didn't one-man show the Vikings game or anything, but still, we can expect that Mahomes can hold up deep into 30s, potentially 40s. I wish I could give you more details about like general things, but again, this is not my forte. But I'm doing my best. Now, I mentioned earlier the offensive line. Chiefs, listen, you guys have secured the quarterback spot, but you better make sure the offensive line is as good as possible. This previous season, Mahomes was sacked 17 times, which is pretty far down there, so that's good. He was hit 34 times, which is like 16th, with number 1 being the most times hit. Sorry, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I don't know how to put all that into context, so I don't know if that's like good enough for how good Mahomes is, or if that needs to be better. But it's not the worst in the league, clearly. So I guess that's a good thing. I guess another thing to think about is how essential will a running game be next to Mahomes? Like, are you just gonna go shotgun all the time? I mean, Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy, they had 200 rushing attempts between them this previous year. And I know there's a big conversation going on in the NFL nerd world that it's kind of similar to the center argument in the NBA, where it's like, how valuable really is a running back, and for how long are they valuable, and should you ever give a running back a second contract, and things like that. And I don't know, maybe Kansas City, given we assume Mahomes, he's going to have a lot of money here, so it's not like they're going to be able to just get whoever they want. There's a chance that you're just kind of finding the running back of the year, I guess. And if I was talking about the NBA, I could probably give you examples, but this is the NFL, so use your imagination on that. I have no idea who the bargain running back is, but I'm assuming a few of them exist. As far as the receivers are concerned, I mean, they got Tyreek Hill for at least 3 years. He's only 25, so we could see him get a second contract from these guys at 28. And with a guy like Mahomes, if you have one very good receiver and then a couple of guys who are decent, that's usually enough. And it seems like Tyreek Hill could be a long-term option. And then you got Kelsey, who, he's 30, he's not slowing down. Sammy Watkins in his mid-20s. Yeah, I don't want to dive into players too much because, I just don't know. Like, I've heard of Sammy Watkins. Somebody else could tell you a better story on him than I could. Just trying to project who could be along for the ride with Mahomes for at least a decent chunk of this contract. Nobody but Mahomes is going to be on the Chiefs in 7 or 8 years, but maybe 1 or 2 guys could be there for most of it with him. Now, there's definitely a signing bonus thing like 5 years into the contract. I know that much, where they might have to readjust it or whatever. And there's probably several options or clauses in there that can allow either side to restructure the contract as it goes. But Kansas City didn't mess around, man. They're like, we have ourselves a once-in-a-generation player, and we would like to keep him. So there you go, Patrick Mahomes.